Thor Ragnarok is the worst Thor movie. I know what you're gonna say. How can it be worse than Thor The Dark World? Well, we'll get onto that. So let's go through the problems with Thor Ragnarok. Now, before I ran on about the cons of this movie, I have to point out the pros of this movie, as I do not think that this is a bad movie. In fact, I don't think any MCU movies are bad, even The Incredible Hulk. Now, the pros. I love how they handle the tone of this movie. It has both comedy and serious drama and seamlessly switches between both tones. I have to give credit to the director for this, and his work is phenomenal. I think this movie probably has the most beautiful color grading. I mean, look at that. It's breathtaking. The action sequence and the build up to hype in Ragnarok is also great. It fleshes out Thor's character as a hero. He is the active player in the movie and affects characters around him to become better of themselves. This movie actually made me realize, oh yeah, this dude was a hero. Not just the man always wanting to become in terms with Loki. It does many things perfectly, but the problem I have with this movie is the narrative. To talk about the narrative, I have to go through the two character arcs which Thor goes through in this movie, accepting Ragnarok and becoming king of Asgard. I'm not entirely sure if this was the character arc that Taika wanted to portray, but that's what I got, so that's what I'll go with. Firstly, accepting Ragnarok. Ragnarok was an event which was teased in Age of Ultron, so Taika didn't really have a choice in this, but it was essentially portrayed that Thor wanted to stop Ragnarok, and does this by the beginning of the movie. So there was never really a question if Thor can stop Ragnarok, so the weight of this character arc is rather on Thor accepting that he is not mighty and does not always have control over every situation. Being a power player in the Avengers, I think this is not a bad character arc. But there isn't much build up to this. He never really hits the low point in this movie, as he always stays optimistic. Even when Thor's hammer gets broken and gets sent to Sakaar, he never really questions himself if he can beat Hela. So this change of trying to beat Hela by himself and accepting Ragnarok does not seem dramatic. The second arc of becoming the king of Asgard. This is the part where I have problem with. Thor never wanted to become the king. Well, after he learns his lesson in Mighty Thor, he doesn't. His character arc has been based around caring for people, and we are told many times that he wants to save Asgard, that he cares for it, but we aren't really shown this. We as an audience probably do not care about Asgard. I mean, we're 3 movies into Thor, and what do we know of Asgard? Nothing. The only representation of common Asgardians were these people. But Findra gets killed like a mob, and so do these two. Wait, what were these two guys again? I can't remember their names. And also, where's Sif? And that's where the problem comes. Every representation of Asgard as we know it is tossed aside to nameless side characters. The movie does not care about Asgard, and neither does Thor, and neither do we. It's outrageous. Thor never once cares or mentions his friend's death. I honestly like the side characters, and I was hoping that these boring side characters got more spotlight, but they never do. We know more about these characters that just popped up in this movie. So, my point is, we as an audience cannot see Thor care for Asgard when every representation of Asgard has been thrown away. We don't see that Thor has a bond with Asgard. I mean, look at this scene. There's probably more non-Asgardians than there are Asgardians when it's meant to be an Asgardian ship. And this reverts the build-up that Thor has been going with. That he is a caring character, and puts him into a spot where he never aspired to become. A king. So this movie felt off for me. This movie did not seem like a conclusion to a trilogy, and took a turn that was never meant to happen. Circumstances just made him king, and he never made the choice to do so. Talking about circumstances making the outcome, I have to talk about the relationship between Thor and Loki. Thor and Loki has a talk in this movie which I think is really nice. It's my favorite scene in the movie and also my favorite line by Thor. I mean, I made a tribute video based around this line. obviously I love this scene. If you're interested, please check out the tribute video. So this scene, this is the scene where Loki and Thor accepts their differences and decides to go on a different path. Loki chooses to stay in Sakaar. However, Loki, being god of mischief, decides to betray and fails. Now that he couldn't catch Thor, he was out of options and takes a complete 180, deciding to act like the savior.
Your savior is here!
This is the other problem I have with this movie. Loki never chooses to fight with Thor, but circumstances made him stand side by side. This character conclusion was not compelling. What I found more compelling was Loki in Thor Dark World. In this movie, Loki makes a mistake of letting the Dark Elves in, leading to his mother's death. It's been developed upon that he cared for his mother, and from a prisoner, he grows into vengeance, hence a redemption arc. This redemption arc pays off as the death of his mother makes him choose to become the better of himself and chooses to make a sacrifice. A sacrifice out of selflessness, not to prove anyone his rightness like in the first movie.
I didn't do it for him.
Choose. This is the key word. And that is why I like Thor Dark World better than Thor Ragnarok, because the payoff of Thor wanting to fight with Loki side by side is much more deeper and compellingly built. Although sloppy, it also builds upon Thor being a much more caring character. Mentioned caring, I have to briefly talk about Endgame. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about spoilers in Endgame, so if you don't want to hear it, please just skip to this time. Okay, so I love the characterization of Thor in the Endgame. Him being beaten up and broken really put forth the human side of Thor. He actually cared about his loss, and now as Korg and Mig were proper Asgardians, we got to see a representation of how he interacts with his people. His interaction with his mother really showed that he was a caring character. Caring. I've repeated this many times, but Thor is meant to be a caring character. I think the Russos understood this. This is why by the end of the movie he joins the Guardians. He was never meant to be a king, and the Russos fixed the problem of Ragnarok effectively, turning him into a caring character. So yeah, that was the problem I had with Thor Ragnarok. I couldn't buy the character arc that Thor was going through, neither the choice Loki makes in this movie. And although yes, this was a deter, but the Russos fixed this, and now he is onto a different path, and I am really excited for the character conclusion he will get in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And so that's it. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.